everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Ginger Pierce, and I'm one of the travel agents with Marvelous Mouse Travels. We are the agency that runs this Facebook group, along with several others that are focused on different destinations. And we are also an earmarked platinum authorized Disney vacation planner. And what that means is that we are recognized by Disney as providing excellent customer service, and we are also trained by them, often on site, to be experts in their vacation products. So, welcome to Sundays with MMT. This is a weekly live agent panel video series that we do every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern in one of our Facebook groups. And we're really excited to be in this group tonight because we are going to be talking to you about Disney Genie, Disney Genie Plus, and the individual lightning lane or individual attraction passes. So if you have questions about Disney's new paid replacement for the Fast Pass product, you are definitely in the right place tonight because we are going to be answering a lot of frequently asked questions. But we also want to save some time at the end of our video tonight to take any questions that you have that maybe we didn't think to answer in advance. So we are using a platform called StreamYard to go live this evening. And if you do want to submit a question for us, it might ask you to approve it to display your username and profile picture. Just know that you can decline that permission and you can still post your questions anonymously, and we will still be able to interact with you. But we're going to give you a lot of information up front, and then towards the end of our time together, we're going to come back and we're going to get through any questions that we might have. So I'm joined tonight by 4 of our marvelous agents. Ladies, thank you so much for being with us tonight. And if you would take just a moment to tell everybody your name, how long you have been with the agency, and the best way for people to contact you if they're interested in planning a trip to Disney World.
Great. So my name is Talara Alphin, and I am actually live in Utah, and I've been with the agency for a little over 2 years now. And the best way to contact me is through my email address, which is listed here on the screen, talara@marvelousmousetravels.com. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Monica Carmichael. I've been with the agency now a little over a year, and you can reach me at the email below, monicac@marvelousmousetravels.com.
Hello, I'm Amy Kraus, and I am joining y'all from Texas. And I've been with the agency for just over 2 years. The best way to reach me will be via email at amy.kraus@marvelousmousetravels.com.
Hi, I'm Jody Rabida. I've been with the agency for 3.5 years now, and the best way to get a hold of me is through my email address at jody.rabida@marvelousmousetravels.com.
And again, my name is Ginger Pierce. I have been with the agency just a little over 3.5 years. And the best way to get in touch with me is to visit my blog, which you can find at gingermmt.com. So, Disney Genie Plus, Disney Genie, there's a lot of different names and a lot of different functions, as we know, to this brand new system that Disney has brought into place. And as we know, as travel professionals who specialize in Disney, this was just introduced a couple months ago. And so it's still something that's relatively new. And I think a lot of people are kind of figuring out, how it works, and what, whether or not it's something that they do want to invest in, because the days of complimentary fast passes are behind us, and now we do have this pay for play system that Disney has introduced. And so I just have several questions that we're going to kind of walk through together and share with everybody our answers to these, and then take some time at the end to come back and answer any questions that they have that we didn't think of. So ladies, first of all, let's tell everybody, what is Disney Genie and what does it do?
I can step up first. The Genie is actually the free service that is provided through your My Disney Experience app. It's an extra function that everybody gets to use. It's really nice to kind of play in it before your trip, because it's going to ask you certain questions to help you kind of design your day based on the things that you like. It also will help you during the day with like letting you know the ride times and recommending which rides to go on based on the time of the day and the crowds and the waits, and customized to you. So it's kind of like your friend in the day.
That's true. And what about the tip board? Anybody want to talk to us about the tip board that's part of Disney Genie?
So from when I've been there and used the tip board, what I mostly see from that is that it takes the things that I have already listed as maybe the attractions or the shows that I want to see. And it suggests other shows that I might be interested in as well, that maybe I haven't experienced before, but also maybe I have a Genie. Well, if I paid for the Genie Plus, if I had like a return time scheduled, it would suggest maybe another attraction nearby that I could go experience while I'm waiting for my return time. I also liked it gives me a tip of maybe places to eat that are near the attractions that I wanted to visit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point. And, you know, Disney Genie, like we mentioned, this is a free service. And so, you know, whether you are someone who kind of knows your way around the parks, like obviously a lot of us, we would fall into that category. You know, we've all been to Disney World a lot of times. We know our way around the parks. We kind of have an idea in our mind of the things that we want to do. So we may not necessarily want to use the in-depth itinerary planner feature that you can get in Disney Genie, but we might want to just refer to that tip board, you know, and that's what I found myself. I just got back on Wednesday from a trip to Disney World with my family. We used Disney Genie and Disney Plus or Genie Plus and individual attraction passes a lot, you know, so I've got experience with all of them. And I found myself using that tip board more than anything else, you know, because it was nice to kind of check the forecasted wait times and get a feel for, you know, maybe where I wanted to jump next or what I had in mind later in the day and things like that. So I think the next question that comes out of that, you know, when we're talking about itineraries or something like that, is does Disney Genie replace my travel agent? Because, you know, a lot of travel agents will come up with and create itineraries for their clients. So are travel agents out of a job now because of Disney Genie?
No.
Definitely not.
No.
So what's interesting, and I think, I don't know, Monica might have said this as far as getting into the app and completing the questionnaire for Disney Genie before you go. I think that's really important. And this is where I think obviously your travel agent is not replaced, but what Disney Genie does is it takes your top interest, right? So this is when I first filled it out. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to go in and put in everything I want to do. And of course, you know, I want to do everything while I'm there. So I'm checking. Oh, wait, you've hit your limit of the interest that you can put in for Disney, you know, for Genie to do his magic. So it really does want you to think about like, what are the top, you know, 5 or 6 things that are like must see, must do, don't want to miss type things. And then it builds your suggested day around those things so it can really fit those in. And then it pulls in those other pieces that, you know, you might enjoy or might be close by to where you're already going to be.
Right.
So you can maximize your time. So it's really helpful to do that in advance. So that way you could get a feel for what that looks like. But it really is like your day of like, here's where we suggest you go day of, and oh wait, the crowd just changed, so go here now instead, where, you know, your travel agent's doing all of your pre-planning, all of your tricks and things of other things that you might not get from Disney Genie. But Disney Genie is going to be your day of suggestions for where to go next based on those few things that you really want to see and do.
Yeah.
Right. To go off of that, Disney Genie doesn't make your dining, you know, doesn't do your dining for you. It just makes suggestions of where you can eat, but they're not going to get those dining reservations for you at your window when your window opens.
Right.
Excuse me. Disney Genie isn't there to find that right resort for your family and category of room at that resort for your family, or even the right ticket for your family, whether it
And
be
apply promotions
or Park Hopper Plus.
Yeah.
You know, so that's where we come in.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think the Genie has so many elements to it that we're going over, but that's another reason why you need us to help you, because
Right.
explaining how to do all these things can be intimidating.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And, I think it was Amy that just mentioned Disney Genie is not going to monitor for new promotions to save you money. Your travel agent will do that. It's not going to wait on hold for you with Disney IT if something goes wrong with your,
For
with
4
your account
hours.
for 4 hours or
Yeah.
however much the case may be. So, there's certain pre-planning things that, your travel agent obviously is still going to do for you. And then those plans can be incorporated into what Disney Genie, does for you. And so it is a really helpful tool to use on the day of. But, I still, and I know many of you ladies do this too. I still provide my clients with a suggested touring plan
Yes.
for the parks because, Disney Genie, part of its function, honestly, is logistics. It wants to spread people out evenly throughout the park. And so it might send you to Haunted Mansion and then say, oh, go over here to Jungle Cruise. Well, those are kind of far away from each other, and so you might not logically, that might not make sense for your family. You might not want to drag your 3 and 4-year-old kids across the park to go to that recommended ride, and so I do kind of still provide clients. I know a lot of our agents do that. And I find that my clients tend to stick to my tips, and then they just kind of look at the tip board for Disney Genie and stuff like that. So it's working in conjunction kind of with your travel professional.
And
So go ahead.
I was going to say, like Disney Genie, your travel agent is free. So
That's a great point.
don't leave that on the table. Utilize those services and get the most.
Absolutely. For sure. Definitely. So let's talk a little bit about one of the paid upgrades. Let's talk about Disney Genie Plus. So what is Disney Genie Plus? How much does it cost? What types of rides are involved? Let's talk all about it.
I can get this one.
Okay.
Genie Plus is it's an add-on service. It costs $15 per day per guest.
Mm-hmm.
And basically you are allowed 2 attraction selections. No, I'm getting that wrong. I'm getting that mixed up. I'm getting that mixed up with the lightning lane. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Yes, I'm sorry. I was doing something completely different. The Genie Plus is the cost is $15 per day per guest. And I'm sorry, I'm very nervous. But
You're doing great.
if you can get your somebody else take it. Somebody else take it, because right now I'm like,
You're up for lightning lane.
You're doing great.
what's going to happen to me? I knew it.
But you're right. You're right. Disney Genie Plus is $15 per guest per day.
Yes. And
And what that does is it. So before, in the day of fast passes, you will get 3 fast passes per day that you could pre-book like a really long time in advance, and you have to have your whole trip planned, months in advance. Well, now what Disney Genie Plus does is it allows you day of to make return selections. What was formerly fast pass lane is now lightning lane entrance. So you can make your reservation for a ride that you want to return and ride on. It's going to give you a return window, and then you can continue to make returns for other rides throughout the day. But you can only have one ride return at a time. Unless that return time is more than 2 hours out, then you can make another return time once you hit that 2-hour mark. So say if your first return time is 11 a.m. and it's only 8 a.m., at 10 a.m., you can make your next return for later in the afternoon. So get to ride multiple rides and go in the lightning lane entrance without having to wait through the regular line. For each park, they do have a list of attractions that qualify for the Genie Plus lightning lane entrance. And one thing that's a little different than, say, fast passes, or if you're familiar with the West Coast and how Disneyland used to do it, max passes, is you can only use lightning lane for one ride per day. So if you loved, say, the Haunted Mansion, you couldn't use it 3 times for the Haunted Mansion on that same day. You could enter Haunted Mansion once, and then you could choose some of the other rides that are available that day on that park that you're at.
But
Right.
you can use standby.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And
Yeah, if you want to ride Haunted
Yeah.
Mansion 11 times, you can just stand in the standby
Right.
line and you can do that.
And
Yeah,
that's
for
really
sure.
important to note too, is all of the rides have standby lines. So if you don't
Yeah.
want to pay for the Genie Plus, you could just do the standby lines. Again, it will obviously probably be a little bit longer waiting in lines versus being able to maybe ride other rides while you're waiting for a return time, but that's available as well.
Yeah. And if you are an on-site guest, you have the ability to start booking your first lightning lane at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
on the day of your park visit. Whereas if you are staying off-site, you have to wait until the official park open time. Now, you don't have to be physically inside the park in order to do that, but you do have to wait until the park is officially opened if you're an off-site guest. So that is, one of the perks to staying on site to Disney when it comes to Disney Genie, is that you do get a jump. You get earlier access to those things. And we can talk a little bit more at the end about our experiences with Disney Genie and whether or not, we recommend it or we think that it's worth it. But I will say that most of the rides, besides like the top tier, most like popular 1 or 2 rides in a park, are going to be part of Disney Genie Plus. So, things like Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean, a lot of your Fantasyland attractions, other than like Seven Dwarfs Mine Train and things like that. A lot of the rides in most of the parks are going to be part of that Disney Genie system, with just a few exceptions, which we'll talk about next as we move on. But again, Disney Genie Plus, $15 per day per person plus tax, gets you bought into the system that allows you to make those return times.
One thing that I wanted to interject is that one thing that I really love about this is that this is something that you can add to your tickets even before you've entered the park. Like when you're booking your package, it's something that can be added now. Versus like when Amy was discussing like Max Pass was something that you couldn't buy until you were in the park. Right. So this is something really great that you can already you've already paid for it. So it's not an additional cost once you're in the park each day. Because sometimes, I don't know about anybody else, but in my mind, like if I've already booked it, I've already paid for it, then it's magically there.
Yeah.
Instead of having to go on and rebuy it each day. Also, I've had clients that maybe didn't want Genie Plus the whole time. It's something that you can just pay. You can decide to just maybe have it for one day if you're there, but then you would have to wait until you are actually using your tickets at the park. You can't pre-purchase just one day.
Right. Yeah, and that is something that you can add on for your length of ticket for either a vacation package or for a ticket only booking. So if you maybe have a timeshare or something and you just need Disney tickets, you can do that add-on just like you can with a park hopper, but just like with a park hopper, if you purchase it in advance, it is, you have to do it for every day, that you're going to visit. And it's not like you can just pick one day in advance. Yeah, that's a really good point.
I have something really quick about what Genie Plus is also to add. Sure. Just a couple fun little features that come along with it would be the audio tales. That is something that whenever you're going around the park, you can listen to different areas. It'll tell a little story to you. And then the photo lenses. I think when I tried it, I sat on a bench for probably 30 minutes just playing with all the photo lenses. I thought that was worth it, even if I wasn't going to ride anything. So that comes with it.
Yeah, that's great too. And that helps, keep kids entertained standing. If you don't have a lightning lane return time for something and you have to wait in a standby line, you have something to play with, or your kids have something to play with, which is nice. Keeps everybody happy. So let's move on and talk about those individual attraction passes. Or individual lightning lanes. I've seen them called both things out in the Disney world. But what are these? And how much do they cost, and what rides are they good for?
So each park has 2 individual attractions per park. Just going off the top of my head, people can help me out here. But at Magic Kingdom, we have the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and we have Space Mountain. At Disney's Hollywood Studios, we have Rise of the Resistance.
Yes.
And is it Smuggler's Run?
Mickey and Minnie.
Mickey and
Mickey and
Minnie.
Minnie's Runaway Railroad. That's right. And then somebody help me out. I am totally
Animal Kingdom. You got Animal Kingdom, which you're going to get your Everest and your Flight of Passage. And then for Epcot, you'll get Frozen and Remy.
Perfect.
And, you know, these are the top tier attractions. Like back in the world of Fast Pass, there were, for some parks, in fact, every park except Magic Kingdom tiered their Fast Passes. And so you would have a tier 1 Fast Pass, and you could only book one of those in advance, and then others had to be tier 2. These are going to be those tier 1 rides. So things, you know, that are just the most popular rides. And it's essentially you are purchasing a standalone pass, like a designated guaranteed return time for that attraction.
And you don't need to purchase the Genie Plus to be able to purchase these individual lightning lane.
Yeah, and that's a great point, because I think a lot of people think that you do. I think they assume that you have to have purchased Disney Genie Plus in order to do an individual attraction pass, and you don't.
No.
You know, if you want to just do those individual attraction passes, you can. Is there a limit to how many you can have per day?
Yeah.
Just 2.
Just 2.
Yeah. So if you're doing a park hopper and you're going to be at 2 parks, you can do one for one park in the morning and then one for another park in the afternoon. But you can only have 2 for the entire day. And then pricing on these is, I've had clients ask, like, okay, well, what's pricing? And this is where it gets a little tricky to help with budgeting. But pricing is going to vary, and it's very much a supply and demand. So it's going to vary by day, and you won't know until day of, but it's going to be anywhere from $7 to $15 per attraction per person. So for budgeting purposes, you could just assume the highest end if you really want to hone in on what that's going to be. But you cannot buy these in advance. They have to be purchased day of, and these ones do and can and do sell out. So there's Genie Plus. You can buy Genie Plus day of. It's not going to sell out. Obviously, you're not guaranteed a certain number of rides or certain rides to ride with Genie Plus. This one, it is guaranteeing you're going to get on these rides. So they sell out, and they sell out quickly.
They do.
Especially depending on day of. I had clients traveling last week, and they reached out to me around 11 a.m. Like, hey, is it too late to buy Lightning Lane for Remy's? I was like, yes.
Yeah.
You got to do it first thing in the morning, or you're going to end up just in standby.
And, you know, like I mentioned, we were just at Disney World, last week, actually earlier this week. And what we found was that, we did individual lightning lanes for Rise of the Resistance. And in that particular day, week before Christmas, I paid $15 per person for that one. For Remy, I think I paid $11, and I think I paid like $8 for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. So that just gives you, a little bit of a range the week before Christmas. And like Amy said, obviously, that can go up or down depending on, what type of season we're in. Are we talking peak season like spring break? Are we talking about, something where it's a little quieter in terms of crowds? So you are going to see great variety with that. But you will get to see the price of it as you're purchasing it, so you're not going to be surprised, but like the day of, you'll see the option and the price associated with that before you go through with it. So, and
just remember that everything is plus tax down there at Disney World. So it's the $7 plus tax, so you're not surprised by that extra few bit of change.
Right? Exactly. That's a great point.
And let's talk about and make sure to tell them about what time you can purchase and make those selections.
Yes. Who wants to take that one?
Sorry, I've been talking a lot, so I'm like, if somebody else wants to jump, go for it.
Is it right at 7? Right?
It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
7 a.m.
Yes,
for that day.
Right in here.
Day
that
of.
is correct. Yep, day of.
And
And
that's
again, you want to be on right at 7 trying to do that, because if you're not, chances are you may not get one.
yeah. So if you ever try to do a virtual line, it's kind of like that with some of them where they will be
Mhm.
seconds. And then I guess speaking of that too, one thing to know is the rise of the resistance virtual queue is gone. So
Mhm.
that's no longer an option. So it's either pay to ride the ride with Lightning Lane, individual attraction, or do standby.
Mhm.
The only virtual queue that is available currently is Remy's Ratatouille Adventure at Epcot.
Right.
You
And that
get-
virtual queue is still complimentary. So, if you want to try for that and not go ahead and pay for that individual Lightning Lane, you certainly can. But just know that that one is a whole lot harder to snag than the individual Lightning Lane purchase. So if Remy is really important to your kids, it might be worth budgeting in enough money to purchase that guaranteed spot. And it is a really cute ride.
Oh, it
Um,
is
yeah.
adorable.
Yeah, my kids loved it.
And this is where, you have two things. So day of, morning of, you have two things that you might need to purchase, right? You
Mhm.
might decide to purchase Genie Plus or the Lightning Lane individual attractions. But if you do purchase Genie Plus in advance and just add that to your package or to your tickets in advance, you're not
Mhm.
having to worry about the added pressure and stress of getting that plus your individual attractions. So that's something to think about is if you think you're going to use Genie Plus, even if it's for a couple days, add it to your entire vacation, take that
Mhm.
stress off of it, and then you can do your individual attraction rides day of and make
Yeah.
sure you're getting those attractions you really want.
Perfectly said.
Yeah. And what my
And make
husband and
sure-
I did.
Oh, good.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, make sure that the day before you have your app updated in your phone. I have had people that morning scrambling because things aren't working, and they just needed to update their phone. So that's a helpful little reminder.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
you do have a credit card, a method of payment attached
Yeah,
to
Mhm.
your
it already in the profile.
client
That's
on
true.
dining reservation. So just have that in your profile way in advance. That way you can just click through, and especially if you're wanting to buy two.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And your entire party is connected to each other.
Yes. Yes.
That's where your
And
travel
another
agent
thing to remember
Yeah.
with individual attraction passes too, not your whole party does not have to do the same thing. You
That's
can
a great
split
point.
it up.
Yeah.
Say you've got
Absolutely.
6 in your party and 3 want to do Rise of Resistance and 3 want to do something else at a different park, later on
Mhm.
in the day, park hopping, and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can do that.
You
It's
can.
designed to do that.
Yeah.
That's a good
Just
point.
so as long as you don't do more than the two
Mhm.
Forget.
attractions.
Yeah. And the
So-
same thing is true with the Genie Plus. Like we there are some things that my son wants to ride that my daughter doesn't. And so I would just try to book, overlapping return times for the two of them and whichever
Right.
adult was accompanying them. And that way, we were still making the best use of our time. And another tip for those individual attraction passes is that if you, are traveling with people, like what my husband and I would do is I would book our individual Lightning Lane and he would go on and book our first return time, like at the same time through the app. And that way we were, getting the earliest access that we could possibly have. So, tag team it if you have to,
Absolutely.
and get it done. So I think the $1 million question when it comes to this system is, are Disney Genie Plus and those individual attraction passes worth it? So I know my opinion, but I want to hear y'all's opinions as well.
I'll share mine. I know everyone sees online the belief is like 50-50 split. There's 50% that are all about it and 50 that are like, I think, honestly, if you use it the right way and you go in it with realistic expectations, then you're going to benefit from it. I think that people that think they're going to ride everything because they got Genie Plus, that means they're going to get to ride it all and they're never going to have to wait. That's not ideal. So you're kind of looking at its benefit wrong. But I believe in it. I used it I was creative in the sense of picking my rides that I knew would have the longest waits in the day as my Genie Pluses. And then in between, you see one of those shorter lines, you go eat, you go shop, you watch the cavalcades, and then you make it to your next one. So you just have to be creative on how to use it, and you'll like it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good point, is about setting the expectations and just understanding it's not a guaranteed you're going to get every ride on that list once. Again, depending on the crowd level at the parks and the seasonality. So far, what I've been seeing with some of my clients that have used it since it was released in October, so it's only been a couple months. Depending on the day, anywhere from 3 to 4 attractions to maybe 6. So it really, again, it depends, and there's a little bit of strategy to it as far as which rides you're picking, what return times first, and then also making sure if your return time's beyond the 2-hour mark, that in 2 hours you come right back and you make your next one. So that way you always have those in the queue ready for you.
Yeah, the other thing that I don't know if people like recognize that they can do, but as soon as you've gone into the line and they've scanned that, you can go right on and schedule your next one. So you don't have to wait until that time, like that hour return time is over. As soon as they have scanned your pass, get right back on and schedule your next one.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's been totally worth it. The only time that the first time I used it was I didn't get into the park until later in the day, and I just wanted to try it out. And that day, maybe that did not really work out for me very well, because purchasing it later in the day, the things that I was hoping to be able to use it for, they weren't available. But definitely, like, overall, it's something that I will never travel to Disney World without having it as part of my package.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think especially when you think about the fact that $15 per person is pretty much what you're going to pay for a quick service meal. Take that amount of money and think about the time that you are saving yourself not having to stand in as many lines. You're still probably going to have to stand in some lines for a couple of things, but you're not going to spend as much time doing that. And so time's money, especially when you're talking about a theme park vacation. And so if you were getting to save that time and go experience some of those other things you guys were talking about, like those character cavalcades, you're getting more out of your experience, and therefore you're maximizing the value of what you've paid for that park ticket. So I totally agree. I will purchase Disney Genie Plus every time I go to the parks, because I think if you have a strategy going in and you have done a little bit of research, or you've worked with a travel professional who can give you some tips on how to best get the most out of it, that it really can be something that really does enhance your experience. Now, what about those individual attraction passes? Have you guys used those much? Do you think that those are worth it as well?
I think it's worth it. It is for me. I mean, because if I want to ride something bad enough,
Yeah.
I'll pay for it.
Yeah.
So I can just
Absolutely.
on it. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
Those rides
I'm a Star Wars
I have the
person,
longest.
from the start. And
Yeah.
If they're, I'm grateful. Sorry, Jody. When my family was there in October, right before Genie Plus had been launched. And one morning we were up super early in the morning to get to Hollywood Studios. And like, if I could have paid for a Genie Plus at the time and paid for an individual lightning lane to be able to get into the line for Rise of Resistance, especially because I know that that's like the top tier ride for that park, I much rather would have paid my $10, $15 per person than practically getting shin splints walking as fast as possible to get into the line that was then 4 hours long. Right?
Yeah.
Luckily I have a 6 foot tall son who can walk really fast, and we were the second people in line. But if I was going later in the day,
Or just,
I don't know, it's totally worth it to me.
We've got 45 minutes of extra sleep after a day at
Yes.
Disney, or 3 days at Disney with kids.
yes,
I mean, yeah, it's worth it for sure,
Yeah.
especially for a 3 or 4 hour wait on,
right.
Mm-hmm.
And we did it for Remy.
Yes.
And it was totally worth it. So
Yeah.
I always think about the people that don't get to go that much. Maybe they don't go to Disney 4 or 5 times a year like we do, but that might be something that would hurt their feelings if they didn't get to see Remy. That's a big deal to them, and they're not going back for another year or two. So it would be worth that price for sure.
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah. And I mean, like for our family, for instance, Rise of the Resistance, that is a negotiable. Like we will ride that ride when we are at Disney World. And when it was all virtual queue, and like there were times that even though I know all the tricks and knew what I was supposed to do and was ready, there were times when I didn't get a virtual queue for it, or I didn't get one until later in the day or something like that. And so being able to have the peace of mind to know like I am going to get to do this ride. If it's something that's really important to you, I think it's definitely worth it. Now, I have not personally purchased it for every ride like that it's available for every single day. But when we were there last week, I used one in every park. I paid for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train in Magic Kingdom. I paid for Remy. I paid, I picked the one that it was important for me to do for each park. And that was the one that we paid for. And then between that and Disney Genie Plus, we were able to accomplish what we needed to. So, you really just have to kind of look at what you want out of the experience, what you're willing to budget for, and to kind of make your plan based on that. I think we do have a few questions that have come through that we need to take a look at here. Oh, well, good. Hopefully we answered your questions on that. Love that I can pay for it ahead of time. Yes. In fact, I think that's what so many people miss about the dining plan is the ability to prepay. And so we're all waiting with bated breath for when they bring the dining plan back. So, fingers crossed. We know it will happen. We just don't know when. So
Yes.
I love Genie Plus. We were able to do so much more by watching the ride times. Yes, that's a smart strategy. That is definitely the way to do it. I definitely think it's worth it. You must, again, be strategic, but it is great. That's true.
That's why you need a travel agent to help you be strategic.
That's right.
Figure it out.
Experience. Okay, so this is a great question. Experience using Genie Plus along with a DAS pass. So there have been some additional options that have come along as part of this system in regards to the DAS pass. And if you're not familiar with what the DAS pass, this is a disability access. Am I saying it right? Disability Access Services. Is that what it stands for? And you still can, and in the past you had to, if you wanted to apply for this pass, you had to go in person to guest services, explain to them why you needed this pass, why waiting in lines was difficult or impossible for you or someone in your party, and then they would issue you the pass that you could use to get a return time at one attraction at a time. So you can still do it that way and go in person, but you can also do a virtual consultation in advance and not have to go to guest services on the day of your visit. I have heard honestly mixed reviews on how easy that process is, and some people I have heard say that they still prefer going in person. Just know that if you do choose to go in person, you don't have to go every day. You just go once, and then they issue that pass if they're going to issue it for a certain amount of time that's good for your visit. And so I personally have not used the DAS pass because we don't have anyone with us who qualifies for it. Do any of you guys have firsthand experience using the two in conjunction with one another?
Not in conjunction.
Not in together, but I do know with the new DAS pass, if you do the advanced consultation over a live chat with a guest services agent, you can pre-select 2 return times in advance. I believe it's per day. So that's one of the benefits of doing it in advance. But I don't experience Genie Plus with the DAS.
Now they are separate systems. And so, I can see in theory, again, haven't done this myself in the parks. I can see in theory them working well together, because whatever you don't have a return time for on your DAS pass, maybe that would be something that you could get through Disney Genie Plus or vice versa. And so I can see the two working well together because it would give you additional rides that you could have return times for at the same time. Kind of like in the past with Fast Pass, if you used Fast Passes in conjunction with DAS, that could be really helpful as well. And obviously, whether or not they release or issue a DAS pass is completely up to Disney, based on the circumstances that are explained to them. And so if you would like more information about that, you can reach out to one of our agents. You can also find that information on Disney's website as well, and they'll explain kind of who qualifies for that and what the process is as well. But that's a really great question. You gain so much more time in the parks between Genie Plus and mobile ordering. Yes, I totally agree. I love being able to mobile order for food. It's like a fast pass for food, and it's
totally
awesome. So
pre-plan your whole day. It's great.
Yes, absolutely. Let's see. I've been in and out on Genie Plus. Is it only 2 reservations per day on the rides or 2 at a time? So if you're talking about the individual attraction passes, like the ones that you pay for one ride, you can only have 2 of those per day. Okay. Per person. All right. But with the Disney Genie Plus, you can have 1 return time at a time, unless that return time is more than 2 hours away. And so it is possible that you could have 2 on your app at the same time, but you're not going to be able to have more than 2 on your app at the same time, if that makes sense, hopefully.
And you're not limited in the day, like once
Right.
you've used 2, that's all that you get. You
Right.
can keep using it throughout the entire
up until park
Yeah.
close.
Yeah.
The only limit with Genie Plus is that you can only use it on each attraction once. So
Yes.
Yeah.
that's the only limitation that they have.
Yeah. But as many as are available within your booking, if you're eligible for booking, you can book as many as you can get. So. All right. I think that's all of the questions that we have. Just keep in mind, if you happen to be catching this video on replay and it's no longer live, that we do still monitor these videos after the fact. So you can still pop that question in the comments and one of us can come back and answer you at a later date as well. But thank you so much for joining us tonight for Sundays with MMT. If you would like to get more information about planning a trip from any of the agents that you heard from this evening, all of our contact information is back at the beginning of the video. So if you're joining us late, you can check that out at the beginning. Keep in mind that our planning services are completely free whenever you book your vacations through us, and booking through us is the same price as booking directly on Disney's website. But we can also help you with everything from cruises to theme park vacations to all-inclusive resorts and beyond. So again, thank you so much for watching tonight, and we hope to see you again soon for another episode of Sundays with MMT. Bye, everybody.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Good night.